how naive is Greta? She became the face of the movement when she was 12 years old. I mean, she dropped out of middle school to pursue this, you know. Not exactly an expert. She just cared about the environment, respect. Now I think she's 18 years old, right? She may have single-handedly brought down Andrew Tate, arguably. But she's no expert, right? I mean, she's not the Doogie Howser of climate. Shout out to that show. I know you watched that back in the day. But how naive is she? And everyone listens to Greta, especially on the woke left. But does she actually know what's really going on? Is she actually understanding budgets and ROIs on investments? Like, could she possibly understand this as much as scientists? What are your thoughts on Greta?
So I'm actually going to surprise you a little and say I have a lot of respect for Greta. She basically listens to what pretty much everyone tells you. The world is ending, and she's at least taking the consequence of that and saying, well, if this is really the end of the world, we got to do much more than all these adults are saying. I respect that a lot. She's misinformed, but it's not her fault. It's really because pretty much everyone in the media, in the mainstream media, and Kamala Harris, as we just heard, is telling us this is an existential threat. Unless we do something about it, we might all die. I think it's respect that she took that consequence. What we should take from that is, of course, not to say, oh, she must be an expert. She's just, regurgitating what she's heard. We should say, maybe we shouldn't scare our young people this much because there's no justification for scaring this much. It's a problem, but it's not the end of the world. And there's a huge difference. One makes you, give up everything and makes you give up your school. The other one is one of the many challenges we need to fix in the 21st century.
Yeah. She's, some people would say, a useful idiot is what she is. She's good to be used as a pawn to validate more of their point and connect with younger kids, students. And oftentimes adults are afraid to go after somebody that's younger because you seem like you come across as a bully. It's a perfect person to use and abuse others who have opposing views. It's extremely strategic.
She's certainly been used by a lot of people, and she has had that sort of moral Teflon, as they call it. She's a kid. How dare you criticize a kid?
And if you're just watching peripherally and you see that, you're like, oh my God, this girl cares so much. But then you see the pictures of like where she's getting fake arrested in Germany, I believe. You have that, Rob? And then you believe that a lot of it is grandstanding and showcasing,
of course,
for clicks and eyeballs. This image right here. So what you see is her being arrested. And then what you don't see behind the scenes, I'm sure you can, if you keep looking at the images.
The cops
she's actually really talking to them. Basically,
selfies.
She looks like she
literally.
Look, she's not an expert. This girl, unfortunately, is being used, and her shelf life is half.
You know what? I want to do something. Can you do me a favor and play this video? I saw this video. So check this out. This video.
Rob, you're allowed to use your voice, buddy. You're doing sign language.
Watch this here. You just got to see this. It's phenomenal. Okay, watch it. If you know it, don't say anything, Tom, and it ruined the joke or stuff. Just kind of watch it. Have you ever seen this or no? That's the first
I have not seen this.
How
easily can human beings be programmed?
Watch this. Go ahead. Watch this.
Despite what you might be thinking, these two circles are not equal. I repeat, these two circles are not equal. One is in fact larger than the other.
Which one do you think is bigger?
What I need you to do is determine which one that is.
Red or blue?
So, please raise your hand if you believe the blue circle is larger than the red.
They look exactly the same, but blue looks maybe a little bit bigger.
All right. Please raise your hand if you believe the red circle is larger than the blue. All right, very good. Now, before I said anything about these two circles, what was your first instinct? Equal, right? Because they look equal. And the reason why they look equal is because, in fact, they are equal. These two circles are identical. Yet I got just about every one of you to raise your hand and say that they're not. So what did we learn? That you can be manipulated like that to believe in something that goes against your natural instincts. Just imagine as a child you're taught that the blue circle is larger than the red. If you say it enough times, you convince yourself that's the truth. If you're told the lie enough times, it becomes part of your reality.
Wow.
And if enough people are taught that lie, that the blue circle is larger than the red, well, now it becomes part of the culture. And if that culture then passes that misinformation along to the next generation, well, now it becomes tradition.
Oh, my God. What do you think about this when you see this? What's your reaction? How much truth is there with the credibility of how they're using this to get people to say, no, it's real, it's real, it's real. And we say, oh, maybe it is real. Yeah. Let me buy into it, right?
It's totally real. We've seen things generationally in the United States that were started by one political party that were adopted by another, and then and now you look back in history. Wait, that's not the way it is. This political party said this when it started. I can look at history, but we've gone through generations where it's been appropriated the other way. It's all over the place. In
this
American
pretty
politics.
much describes our educational system, by the way.
Bingo.
This is our educational system for the most part. I got to sit there and listen to this programming of my kids, and they're going to come down and tell Daddy, hey, Daddy, the red circle is bigger than the blue. Billy, it's not. No, it is, because my teacher said so. Your teacher is also brainwashed, okay? But
Pat,
no,
I don't care how many times you show me that video. That blue circle is bigger
I'm
than that red
convinced
circle.
you think the blue is bigger than the red. We all know you think the blue is bigger than the red, but
I think they are genuinely equal, and they both have a voice in America, and I'm talking about those two circles.
Yeah, no, but there's credibility behind the fact that all of us fell for this. Now, by the way, none of us are like above this. Nobody can be like, well, let me tell you, because of my IQ score, when I went to Mensa, bullshit. You're also part of this. We're all victims of this to some point. Okay, at some point you fell for this. Okay, if you fell for Russia, you're part of the circle problem. If you fell for the Russia collusion, if you fell for the COVID, you're also part of the problem. Everybody was convinced it's only one way or the highway. There was no need for debate. There was no need for discussion.
What was that one story you told about the teacher? She came into the class and she basically said, hey guys, I want to tell you kids that if you have blue eyes, you're smarter than anyone with brown eyes. Yeah. And then all the blue-eyed kids are like, yeah, we're smarter than you. And then the teacher came back the next day. She goes, actually, I had my facts incorrect. It's actually the brown-eyed students that are smarter than the blue. And all the brown-eyed kids are. And then she came back the third day and she's like, totally kidding. You guys are all completely equal. But it's just sort of proving your point. Like, if you can fall for a narrative and, you're gullible and you don't question things.
If you keep saying white people are racist, shit, maybe they're going to believe they're racist.
And I've wasted all my money giving to the protesters on behalf of the marginalized red circle because it was the same size the whole time and we've been marching in the streets. Damn it, we're equal.
Yeah. How much of the problem is this, Bjorn?
Well, I think there's certainly part of this that we're easily manipulated on many of these things because we don't have a good connection to it. Most people don't have any good intuition about what is global warming. If you think back on acid rain, do you remember acid rain in the 1980s? This idea that air pollution would actually kill off the forests. It was huge in Germany.
Acid rain. I'm more familiar with the purple rain. That's Prince that is doing his thing. But okay.
In Germany, a majority of people actually believed that acid rain would lead to there being no forest in Germany in the year 2000. Which, of course, was entirely untrue. And we've had many of these kinds of conversations. Now, all of them have they're partly true, but they are also massively exaggerated. So I would tend to say this is much more a question of there being so much interest in pushing a story because it makes for policymakers get to save your life. We get to save you. It means that you get to spend a lot of money. And it means that you get to control the conversation for a decade or so. So I get why this happens. And I think in our sort of excitement of getting rid of this, we shouldn't forget there are real problems out there. But we should just have a sort of sense of what's the right level of concern. And we have no good sense in that in climate.
And I think Pat brought up a very good point at the very beginning of this conversation about like where Gen Z falls in terms of where this is on their list of priorities. And this is at the very top of their list. And it's because, of course you want to care about the planet. Like, what kind of psychopath doesn't care about the planet? I think we can all agree we have one planet, despite what Elon Musk is trying to do on Mars. I'm not moving to Mars anytime soon. Like, we all care about Earth. But then also the age thing is a big thing. If you're 14 years old, if you're 16 years old, you're 18 even, you can't vote. You don't have a job. You haven't even been to college yet. You're not worried about prices and home prices and mortgages and the stock market. These are not concerns of yours. But the Earth, you can do something about that. You can care. You can actually tangibly do something, quote unquote, to help the environment. And that's why this comes at the top of their list. So I can completely empathize and understand why young people treat this as such high priority. But if they're only hearing one side of the story, why would they ever know otherwise?
The only reason they're hearing that is because that they're talking about that's because that's what they're hearing.
Correct.
And that's what they're being taught. So they're going to school, and the teachers are telling them this is the biggest problem.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.